You have tuned in to the Skin Collaborative. We are a group of very passionate skin professionals with varied specialisms who come together to educate and inspire the public on the truth about all things skin. Today we are talking about two subjects. We're going to combine them together because they work quite well together. They are hormones and their effect on the skin, and sensitivity versus sensitive skin. So my name is Sam Marshall. I am a clinic owner based in it is sunny today actually, sunny Manchester, and I'm also an educator in the industry. I am joined by my gorgeous panel. We've got Anita, Tower, Teresa, Shabana. Oh, hello, Maria. Didn't see you pop on then. Snuck in the corner. So I'll let the girls introduce you as they get speaking. So let's kick things off with hormones, first of all. So what are hormones? What are the different types, and what do they do? What function do they have? Who wants to kick that off?
I can go with that. Hi everyone, I'm Tower Dowling. I'm a nurse prescriber and my clinic locations are in Kent. I guess hormones, the best way to describe them would be as chemical messengers. They basically zip around the body telling different organs what to do. So at different parts of your life, hormones will spike. So that means their production increases, or they will trough, so their production decreases. And that has massive effect on all parts of the body, but in particular the skin, which is actually the largest organ in the body. So particularly with regards to the skin, there are key hormones that have effects. A group of hormones called androgens, which include things like testosterone, as well as the more commonly recognized female hormone, which is estrogen. They have massive effects on, amongst other things, your menstrual cycle, your skin's ability to deal with breakouts like acne, the dryness and the lipidity of your skin. That means the amount of oil in your skin that makes it more pliable, and also the barrier function of your skin. So hormones have a massive impact on how your skin looks, not just in terms of the texture of the skin, but actually how it protects the rest of your body. So the barrier function, which is really key.
Thank you so much. So we'll take this kind of in chronological order. So hormones, the first time they kind of rear their ugly head is in puberty, isn't it? So what happens in puberty? Anita, do you want to take this?
Sorry, I had to unmute myself, sorry. Yes, so obviously, if we're talking young girls, their hormones are changing for starting their period, and then they can get this outbreak. Predominantly it's on their faces, but it can be on their back, can be on their chest. The same with boys as well. I think what we discussed on Friday on the Clubhouse chat was that predominantly, it really does affect them mentally as well when they're seeing all this this change in hormones, and also the fact that there's so many things out on the market that people are a bit bamboozled. They tend to go and buy something that their friend is using, but it may be an acid base and it's not right for their skin, or their parents are going to buy something for them. And again, it's all about us educating the children. Obviously, bacteria doesn't help with people washing their skin with their flannels, and they don't wash their flannels every day, their phones, their pillowcases, you name it. They're very tactile, these young teenagers, and they go around in packs. They like to use everything that their friends are using, and it may not be right for their skin.
Can I just add to that? Sorry, Sam, I just wanted to add to that, I mean, what the hormones do is create an abundance of oil. It tends to be what we see in the youngsters. And because they don't necessarily have a cleansing routine in place, they go from childhood to suddenly into this situation. And I mean, I've had 3 children myself. I know that they're not the most hygienic when they enter their prepubescent stage. And it's getting some kind of established routine. But what was Anita said there about parents tending to buy what was available to us when, you know, your stripping type products to take away the oil. And that's what people mentally want to do. They want to strip the skin of the oil. But actually, that's the opposite of what you really need to do. You need to be balancing the skin out. If you get that oil and water balance correct, then what you'll do is you'll slow down that oil secretion. But if you don't, if you strip the skin, all you do is actually cause the oil to be more prevalent. So I think education is really key.
Can I just add there, with teenagers, as we've discussed this before with the Skin Collaborative, they're so influenced by what their mates use and what influencers on social media use. And unfortunately, that isn't always the best for their skin. I'll give you my daughter as an example. Oh, apologies. I'm Teresa from Moorlands Beauty, based in Staffordshire Moorlands. Forgot to tell you who I was. Now, my daughter was born with skin sensitivities, which, although it's managed far better, it's because she was born with a sensitive skin issue. That is something she's going to have to manage for the rest of her life. Now, unfortunately, that could also mean she needs to be aware of what products she uses on her skin that don't trigger her skin sensitivities more. So we might cover this a little bit more shortly, but there is a difference between skin sensitivity and skin sensitization. So my daughter, as an example, she wants to use all these pore stripping products that her friends talk about, that the role that they actually, the influencers actually talk about, but it's so wrong for her skin. So it really is important that we educate everybody from a very young age that their skin is very individual, and we need to make sure that they understand they need to do what's right for their skin, not everybody else's skin.
So you mentioned...
Can I just quickly add there?
Go, Shabana.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just following on from what Teresa said, and I know that Teresa mentioned this on the Clubhouse on Friday. I forgot what day we're on because we've just... with teenage skin and acne, it is a normal process. So they are going to break out. But like Anita and what everyone said is they really need to know what they're using for the skin to really calm and balance it out. And, you know, it is through educating the parents who are going to buy the products for them that we can actually get them, even though they want to follow the influencers, but they're actually causing more damage. So it, you know, it really is really important for them to understand that all those pore stripping ingredients, what they read, it's not actual education, and they need to be coming to like the skin beauty professionals to really sort of help them. But it is a normal process, and in a lot of the times I think kids look at it as you know, how they feel about themselves. When they look at themselves in the mirror, they're not liking what they see, so they think they just want to get rid of it, and they will do anything. But they need to understand it is a normal process. They are going to break out. Unfortunately, some people break out more than others, and I had like a lot of that going on when I was young. My skin would break out a lot. I didn't know what was happening. You know, skincare and beauty, you know, that salons were not that prevalent where we lived, and I wasn't even allowed to visit them, so I didn't know what to do. I went to my GP, who didn't even ask about whether I was using any skincare, didn't ask about any gut issues, and just really quickly offered me the pill. I didn't know what reason I was taking it for. He didn't tell me. You know, he just said, go on it and, you know, you'll be fine. I struggled with it a little bit and then decided, okay, this is not for me. I don't want to go on it, and I just left it. But then since then, I think it's just been my own sort of research and my own, when I came into beauty, that was like one of the reasons I wanted to you know, follow on. It was just really for my own skin and what I could do. It's helped me to help my kids and you know, with their skin as well.
but it's very much a very, very normal process. And I think for a lot of people that suffer, especially with younger skin, it's going to be prone to acne, some more than others, but it is a normal process, and getting that message across is really important, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, we've touched quite a few things there with the teenage issue. Am I? Yes, I'm not on mute. Around sensitive skin issues, and also some triggers that can cause sensitization. So I just want to explain a little bit more about the difference between sensitive and sensitized skin. So, as I mentioned before, sensitive skin is typically a genetic thing that we're actually born with. That means that our skin is prone to causing conditions, or conditions that will cause skin to be reacting to things that can trigger all kinds of issues with our skin. Things like eczema can be something that sort of you're sensitively born with, that sensitivity. Things like hay fever, asthma, that type of thing can typically be a sensitivity that we're born with, that we have to completely take into account with every form of skin product you use, possibly for the rest of your life. And that must be first and foremost, because your skin's barrier has to be protective. And I know we'll come on to that a little bit later. Now, sensitized skin is something that's triggered by a reaction to something, whether it be internal or external. It can be an allergy, but it's not necessarily an allergy, but it can be lots of things that can cause it, like stress, something that's irritated your skin with products, or some inflammation that's been caused by products, or something that's come into contact with your skin. As I said before, stress can be a major factor. And quite often, as skin therapists, we see people with sensitive skin issues because they've used all kinds of products and ingredients on their skin when they think these products or ingredients are right for them, when it's actually causing sensitive skin issues. So it's important that when we look at improving skin situations, whether it be a sensitivity or some hormonal reaction, that we actually normalize the skin's barrier first of all, because the barrier may be impacted by something that has sensitized their skin. Does that make sense? Don't know whether somebody wants to explain a little bit more about the barrier. I know, Maria, that's your thing about your skin's barrier.
I was just going to say, I'm actually in my head, I just was like, Maria's so going to talk about this. And I actually want to name Maria, Maria, the barrier queen of skin.
It is my thing, isn't it, girls? It really is. So, okay, let's just rewind a little bit then. We're talking about the barrier and we're talking about skin health. So when we were talking about teenage skin, we talked about stripping the skin. So where you've got your skin, you've got your epidermis, that's the layers of the skin that you see. And on top of that, you've got a protective barrier. That's your skin barrier. And that's made up of your acid mantle, bilayers, and lipids, basically. And what that does is keeping all the moisture inside your skin, and that's preventing all the nasties from getting in as well. So you keep a balance, a status quo. And what we're finding with people looking after their skin in their own way without the advice and not necessarily using what's right for their skin is often they're upsetting that natural balance. They're changing the pH of the skin, and then that barrier breaks down. So unfortunately, then we have an unhealthy skin that is a compromised skin, and it is then affected even more. It becomes more and more sensitized to whatever's going in. It can be cumulative, it can be reactive, it can be delicate, it can be sore, it can be inflamed. So we very much need to look at getting that inflammation under control. for whatever skin type. If you've broken down that skin barrier, it's a very gentle approach. It's about rebuilding the lipids in the skin. It's about maintaining and bringing back that pH balance in the skin, and you bring back that health of the skin, and only then do you move forward to treat the skin. So unfortunately, what we see all the time is people going to stage 2 before they've gone through stage 1. So treating the skin before they've got a healthy skin. And if you keep layering and layering acids on the skin and overworking the skin, then it's not going to be very kind to you. So we in salon, in clinic, we are seeing more and more sensitized skin. Unfortunately, people don't know the difference, so they think they have a sensitive skin. And as I say, we see it all the time, don't we, girls? So, you know, a sensitive skin is something you will never change. You just have to maintain that skin. As Teresa said, you're more prone to sort of hay fever, allergy type symptoms, but your skin is sort of naturally thinner, and it's often more vascular as well. And it's sort of predisposed to those conditions. And it's also predisposed to things like rosacea as you go through life. You have to treat it very gently. Whereas a sensitized skin, if you actually get that skin health under control and you find the irritant or the problem for your skin, then actually you can tame it, and you can get it back under control, and then you can move forward with it. So sensitized, actually you can get over. Sensitive, you can't.
Yeah, absolutely, Maria. I think the thing is, and I know a lot of us will have experienced this, that a lot of clients, and especially in this last year when we've been doing online consultations, a lot of clients have said, when I've asked them the question, what skin type they think they are, they all think they have a sensitive skin, and they really don't understand what the differences are. You know, and a lot of the time, like what Maria has said as well, it's what they have been using and probably not using as well. So it's just really important for them to understand how they've become to self-diagnose then sensitive skin. It probably isn't sensitive, because I think most people think that if you slightly react to anything that you put on your skin, if it's a little bit irritated, then that is sensitive to you know, most chemical things. And a lot of people, what I found in my experiences, think that because if you use something that is they think that my skincare has got a lot more chemicals in it, and to what they're using, but really even water is a chemical. So really understanding that skin specialists, beauty therapists and skin therapists, you know, we are educated in the skincare that we sell, and it's not just because of you know, advertisement or you know, that we want to sell it, but really it's because we have your best interest, your skin, at our heart. So that is really why we recommend what we recommend.
Absolutely, I always say this, and I always tell the story. I used to work on a cosmetic counter, and they were like, "You've got to sell this much to every single client," and I'm like, "What if they don't need it?" So yeah, integrity is number one with us, isn't it, girls? Okay, so we will move on a little bit. Also, if anyone is watching live, I can see we've got 18 gorgeous people on. If you want to ask us any questions about hormones or sensitivity, please feel free to pop them in the comments and I will ask the girls. So we've done teens. What comes next? So in our 20s, we going on the pill, coming off the pill for pregnancy is a bit of one as well. What kind of happens around there with our skin?
Well, I think you can see melasma for some people, unfortunately. And I know we've got somebody in our group who has suffered with this. So I'll pass that over to Teresa, because she makes us cry when she tells this story.
Thank you, Maria. I do have my tissues ready today, by the way, because even though this was something that affected me from many, many years ago, part of this, deep breath, is really sort of affect my life in so many ways, not just my skin. So my story, as a teenager, I didn't suffer from hormonal skin. I didn't suffer from spots. I didn't suffer from the oiliness. And probably at the time, my friends were very envious of me. And I thought, oh, I've got this sussed. Little did I know until later on in my life that I realised why I didn't suffer from those hormonal skin issues. And it was only when we come to start and try for a family that it was identified my hormones don't behave in a normal way. And to cut a long story short, it led to infertility issues. So to move things along, I was prescribed lots of hormonal medication that would boost my hormones. If those who know, is a drug called Clomid, that, you know, is designed for those who with the early sort of fertility issues. But you have to be really careful with lots of hormonal medication because there is a time limit on how long it's recommended for, and also a strength limit. So the first medication, I fully exceeded the time scales. Well, the medics actually got my prescription wrong, so I actually took the medication for longer than I should have done. Didn't work. It didn't result in pregnancy. So the next option was then IVF treatment. I went through the full cycle of fertility medication taking over my body, taking over my hormonal system, to boost my hormonal system, to go through the cycle of IVF, which fully completed. It did initially work, but unfortunately I miscarried. And it really did cause me lots of issues. At the time, I just thought I'd got sensitive skin issues. But because of everything my body went through at the time, we decided that we couldn't continue any longer with the artificial hormone change as part of our fertility situation. So the end result was absolutely fine because we adopted 2 beautiful children and they are absolute life, and that was how it was meant to be for us, and we absolutely are very grateful for that. Aren't you proud of me? I'm not getting upset today. So we were happily toddling along with our family growing from our adopted children, but then my skin started to misbehave and go totally discoloured, and my pigmentation just didn't look pleasant. When I went out in the sun, it looked horrible. When I had spray tans, my husband would say to me, "You look really ill. Your skin doesn't look right." And we found out that I'd actually got a condition called melasma, as Maria said, and that is a pigmentation issue that has been caused by my body's hormones, and it's been made worse by the hormones that have been put into my system. So as well as having hormone imbalances, the medication that I had to take, or I chose to take, I totally chose that option, basically has caused my melasma pigmentation, where I've got uneven sort of light and brown spots on my skin. And I think it was because of that I made it my ambition that I wanted to be a skin specialist as part of my training within the beauty industry. So that I've suffered from for the last 10 years. And it's only in recent years that I've started to manage those symptoms and signs of uneven pigmentation by using the right products on my skin, and also having the right treatments on the skin that can manage that condition. Now, melasma, it is a condition for some people. It's often called the pregnancy veil because it quite often appears for some people during pregnancy, and quite often for those people it can disappear. But for some conditions, melasma can be a permanent condition. So for me, it is a lifelong condition because of my hormonal issues. And once your body has been triggered with a pigmentation balance issue, your body's cells know those signals, and any form of external factor can and internal factors can trigger those hyperpigmentation issues within your skin. For example, I know as part of sort of, you know, my specialist training that I have to wear really good broad spectrum skin protection factor. I don't call it sun protection, it's skin protection factor every single day of my life, whether it's winter or summer. Because if I was to go out for one day in daylight, the ultraviolet light within the environment will actually, even just for one day, it will totally set my skin back many, many months with forming uneven pigmentation again. It will just knock it back for a long, long time. So I know how to manage the condition now. And I think what the moral of my story is everybody's skin is unique, and as skin specialists we need to identify with everybody's skin what the triggers are and what you need to do on a day-to-day basis with your skin, as well as in salon, what helps you manage your skin condition. So there you go. And I'm really, really proud because I've got through that story without tears streaming down my face that I normally happened and did happen on Friday night. So I'm very, very proud of myself today. So there you go.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Teresa. Yeah. And it's so lovely as well that you can now help other people that have, you know, gone through similar things. And then I think as well, we need to remember that the cortisol levels as well, through going through that much trauma, would have massively contributed. So it kind of all stacks up together.
Yeah.
One thing as well I want to add, if anyone who's listening wants to know more about pigment, there's a really fantastic professional beauty talk that Maria was on actually. I think, is it on the YouTube channel, Teresa? The professional beauty one, have we shared it on there?
It's not on the YouTube channel, but it is shared to the Skin Collaborative page via Professional Beauty.
Yeah, it was a good kind of really meaty talk on pigment. So if anyone wants to hear more about that kind of treatments and things like that, then head over to that. Maybe someone can pop the link in the comments that's a bit more technical than me. Also, adult acne is something that's triggered by hormones, isn't it? And that's something that a lot, I think 60% of women get in their 30s. Let's have a little chat about that. Why does that happen? Tower, you take that.
I can take this. Yes, adult acne is primarily hormonal based and triggered by hormones. And yeah, the figures are, you know, a large proportion of women sort of from their 30s, 40s and beyond, around 30, 25%. The figure drops down slightly as you get older, but triggers include things like menopause, your typical menstrual cycle, if you're living with a condition like polycystic ovary syndrome, which obviously you've got derangement of hormone levels in there. So the hormones that typically are implicated in breakouts of adult acne are testosterone and estrogen. Normally, we have a balance of testosterone and estrogen, but as we approach these hormonal peaks in our lives, that becomes imbalanced, with the balance favoring testosterone, which is a male androgen hormone, although it is produced in females as well, so that's a little bit confusing. But the balance tips in favor of testosterone, and testosterone, the way that it reacts to the skin is it tends to stimulate sebum production, oil production in our pores. So you get a lot more sebum being produced in your pores, and that mixes to form a kind of sticky glue with the dead skin cells that sit on the surface of the skin. As we get older, our cell renewal cycle slows down anyway. So those dead skin cells stay on top of the corneum, the stratum corneum, for much longer. And then they mix with the excess oil that's being produced because of this imbalance of testosterone. So you end up with lots of sort of plugs of this glue made up of dead skin cells, of excess sebum, and a bacteria that sits on the surface of the skin called P. acnes bacteria. Normally it's there, doesn't really cause much of a problem, it's fairly ambient, but when it has lots of the food source, that sticky glue, it proliferates and just multiplies rapidly. And that leads your immune system to attack it So you get lots of inflammation and redness, and then you get the pustules caused by the congestion. So you get that kind of double whammy, leading to breakouts all over. Typically, hormonal acne as we get older tends to be the lower part of the face. So you'll see a lot of acne breakouts around your mouth, around your jawline, the lower parts of your cheeks. And the tendency for most people is to just try and throw everything but the kitchen sink at it. So you see lots of people buying really harsh astringents online or in shops. And actually that makes the skin go into recovery mode and produce ever yet more sebum because you're stripping too fast and too harsh. So the products that you're using to try and combat adult acne are actually making the problem worse, leading back to the barrier stuff that Maria was talking about. It just means that your skin barrier becomes ever more compromised. So the hormonal imbalance feeds in, you get imbalance of the barrier. So that problem just perpetuates and it just keeps on going. So paradoxically, the products that most people buy to try and ease the problem end up making it worse. So in reality, the things that you need to think about are how you're cleansing your skin, getting rid of the impurities, how you're exfoliating the skin to remove that food source of the dead skin cells, and how you're trying to regulate sebum production. Now, bearing in mind it's hormonal based, there's not a massive amount that you can do to regulate the hormones unless you go down the medical route, but there are things you can apply to your skin topically that will reduce sebum production normally. So you need to speak to a skin specialist because the variety of active ingredients and products on the market is massively confusing for the average Joe. And I think you could end up buying stuff that could actually damage your skin rather than help it. You need to speak to a skin specialist because they can look at your skin, they can do a full comprehensive assessment, look at your lifestyle, look at your gut health, look at your stress levels, look at the products you're currently using, all the things that form into making sure that you can get a tailor-made regime that's bespoke to you and that will address all of those key issues. It's really important that you do this because if you're just buying random stuff that your friends are using or that some fad group on the internet is using, you're not really addressing the key issues. There's a cascade of reactions that leads your skin to have breakouts or to have laxness or to have oiliness or dryness. And you need to address the sources of that cascade rather than the outward symptoms. Yep.
Yeah, can I just add to that? I think brilliant. All of that's absolutely brilliant, Tara, and I 100% agree with everything you've just said. I just want to add, coming back to the skin barrier, and what I didn't mention earlier, which kind of fits in with this actually, is that, you know, we used to believe that the corneocytes on the surface of the skin were dead. And in part that's true, but the corneocytes, actually the nucleus within those corneocytes is still corresponding and communicating with our immune system. So they are very much needed and they are designed to desquamate at their pace. Now, as we do age, that slows down, but what we don't want to do, if we overstrip the skin, if we keep putting acids, what we're doing is we're taking away those corneocytes that we actually need on the surface of the skin, and they are part of that protection process. So it's absolutely necessary to use acids on the right skin tone, whether they be AHA or BHA, but in the right way. So that's not daily. You know, I've seen on forums recently people using AHAs and BHAs simultaneously, morning, noon, and night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And it's just too much. So it's all about balance. Everything to do with skin is about balance. Internal health balance, external balance, environmental balance, all about balance. So, you know, I think all of us would agree that if you get the advice from a skin professional who knows about the ingredients, it knows about your skin, has consulted with you personally about your skin, not Joe down the road and Jenny across the road and all the rest of it. It's, you know, your skin, as we keep saying, is unique, and it's really, really, really important that you get the regimen that's right for you. And that doesn't necessarily mean 25 products. You know, it's about simplicity. It's about having a routine that fits with your lifestyle. It's about having the right products that fit with your skin. And the other thing to bear in mind there is your skin will change. You know, we go through different fluctuations in our life. The hormonal changes, our stress levels change. And through that process, your skin will have peaks and troughs. We all have good days. We all have bad days. That's normal. And you'll never eradicate the normal. I hate the word normal, but you know, you know what I mean. Oh, soapbox. Sorry, girls.
No, I think between you and Tower then, I was just like, drop the mic. One thing though, Maria, can you explain what a corneocyte is, please? Because remember, a lot of people are watching are like, a cornea what?
Okay, so the epidermis, as I mentioned, is that top layer of skin. It's built up of different layers. And what happens at the bottom layer, in our basal layer, we produce something called a keratinocyte, which is a skin cell, effectively. And that gradually passes up to the surface of the skin. And it's gradually breaking down, and it does. And then the skin will naturally desquamate it, get rid of it, for new ones to come up through. So as it passes, it differentiates and becomes a corneocyte. So that's when it hits that stratum corneum, that's when it will naturally shed. So as I said, your skin will naturally shed. We don't have to always mechanically help it shed. If it's healthy, that will happen. As we age, that process slows down, but we don't need to be physically scrubbing our skins within an inch of their lives, because then we will compromise our barrier. So as I mentioned before, it is all about balance.
Thank you. Love good corneocyte chat. And you are actually a corneotherapist. So I don't know if anyone else in here is a corneotherapist. I've started doing the course, but I've just not managed to finish it yet. But that is someone that's they care about the integrity of the skin more than anything else, and the barrier function. Okay, so let's head into the dreaded menopause. So perimenopause first. What is it and what happens with our skin?
So I'll take this one. I am a menopausal lady, post-menopausal. So I have been through and you too, Teresa, absolutely. Yeah, we get all the rubbish thrown at us as women, don't we? You know, hormonally, we go through it all. I am one of those lucky people. I didn't suffer with my skin on my face my whole life, through teenage, through pregnancy, through anything. But then I hit perimenopause, and finally post-menopause. And again, it's those hormonal fluctuations. So we start to, our estrogen basically starts to slow down and turn off. And that has implications to our skin. So what we start to see is a breakdown of the skin starts to dry, it loses its natural lipid balance. And, you know, there are other factors in that. With other symptoms, you don't tend to get as much sleep, you're having hot flushes, so your skin can go totally out of whack. For me personally, I've seen my skin really age up in the post-menopausal arena. It's thinned, it's looking a lot more vascular. I've got fine lines and wrinkles, and it's very, very dry. Now, I've always suffered with the dry skin that I've been able to balance, but I really struggle through menopause. So yeah, it's just another factor where we have to change up our skincare again and think about how we treat. And I find my skin, treating it from the inside as well as the outside, really, really helps with my fatty acids.
Does anyone want to add to that? Teresa or Tower, either?
Just want to quickly add before Tower, I know Tower's brilliant on the sort of the sciencing and the more sort of medical side, that it's really important that when we change through skin situations because of our hormones, with your fertility years, your pre-menopausal, your perimenopausal, and your menopausal, is you do review the ingredients that you put on your skin because of how your skin is changing through that time. And don't think that something that you used on your skin 20 years ago is going to do the same job for you, because it won't, because your skin's needs have changed. The other thing to add as well, with the things like HRT, any medication that you start to take, or any medication you take for whatever reason, will also affect your skin, how your skin behaves and how your skin reacts. So that's a really important factor when hitting certain stages within your body's life cycle. And HRT is a key one that really is important, that you do change to the right and suitable ingredients. So I know Tower is as an expert for us with ingredients.
Well, thanks, Teresa. You've pretty much said what I was going to say. And I completely agree with that. It is really vitally important that you sort of interrogate the ingredients in your products, more so when you start to hit those menopausal years, because your skin changes so much. For example, the fact that while you're going through menopause, your estrogen levels are effectively depleting. And estrogen typically, and I know Maria will probably correct me if I'm wrong, but estrogen is really important in maintaining the thickness of that skin barrier. So when we start to lose estrogen throughout this menopausal period, our skin barrier becomes massively, massively negatively impacted. So you get much drier skin, because the ability to hold in those lipids that keep the pliancy in our skin, the sort of elasticity, as well as the depletion of collagen, that happens throughout the loss of estrogen. And paradoxically, some of the HRT therapies that are prescribed, some of them are progestin-based, which is another group of hormones, but they also affect the skin barrier adversely. So it's really important, as Teresa said, that you really look at how your skin products can serve you better, and whether or not the ingredients that you're currently using are the right ones to keep on using once your skin goes through these changes. On a side note, I know that some people will have issues with HRT because they might be concerned about implications of cancer because of some of the, like the BRCA1 gene, for example. So again, that means you need to look at your skincare, because if you're not taking HRT to replace the hormones that are being depleted, your skin is going to have needs in other ways. So again, you need to speak to a skin specialist and tell them what's going on in terms of your medication, in terms of your stress levels, and generally with your skin, because they can work with what you have, and they can provide a really bespoke skincare plan for you that will work with the medications that may be causing some issues on your skin or prolonging issues that you're currently going through because of the menopause. So again, it's really important, even if you're not taking things like HRT because of your fears about the fact that they may feed some cancers and you might be prone to some cancers genetically, there are still things that we can do to help your skin. There are skincare products that have been devised with high ceramide content, for example, to help you bring that barrier back up. So speak to your skin specialist, because that should always be your first step. Yeah, that's my contribution.
Can I also just add to that? And on that basis of getting a routine, I mean, we did say earlier we don't want 25 products that do the same job, but also by the same token, you know, there is no one product that is a quick fix. You know, the skin has lots of different functions, and any skincare regimen is about mimicking, or good skincare regimen is about mimicking the skin's natural function. So, and to keep it regulated, to keep your skin functioning properly through these different situations, whether that's oiliness, whether that's pigmentation, everything we've talked about today, really. And even in menopause, it's about bringing up that lipid balance. So creating a regime for your skin is going to be unique to you. So that won't be done with one miracle product, and that won't be done in products themselves don't miraculously pop themselves on your skin either. You have to actually be consistent with your routine too. And unfortunately, we do see a lot of clients who are looking for that quick fix. You know, throw 50 quid at it, use it once and expect a miracle. Unfortunately, that isn't the reality. And I think any good skin professional will tell you that it is about consistency, and they will help you, they will support you through the whole process, and they will review with you when things change in your lifestyle to change your products up to help your skin through the process.
I always say you wouldn't go to one personal training session and expect to be thinner, would you? So one facial can't do anything. Shabana, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so agree with what Tawa and Maria have just said. I think that from what I've seen, people really do, or what the more general public really do expect a miracle product. And if there was one out there, we would be talking about, or shouting about it really. But it's really important to remember that whatever phase, you know, wherever your hormones are throughout your age, you know, whether you're in those early teens to mid, you know, and you're going through different hormonal ages, gut health is extremely important. And I think that even though we see things on the surface of our skin, people don't relate the gut, you know, because we know as skin specialists that the gut is intricately linked to gut, skin and brain health. So all of these factors are going to come into play, and any inflammation in the gut is going to make changes on the skin. You know, we're going to see sensitivities on the skin if you've got any allergies, the foods that we're ingesting and toxins that we're ingesting in our food. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is just simply, you know, just starting to take prebiotics and probiotics can just be a starting point. And just looking at the dietary factors, what is it that they're doing or that they're actually eating that is making their skin condition worse? I think for a lot of people, they really don't realize. I see quite a lot of clients that have type 2 diabetes, which is all diet and lifestyle related. And when their skin's looking aged because they haven't, you know, they've neglected it and they've not realized what's been going on, they then are having to manage their diabetes as well. And I think a lot of the coaching that I do with my clients, what they find really useful is when they've made those changes in their diet, they start seeing their skin. It really does, their results are a lot more better with their skincare, with the treatments that they're having. But I do have to stress to them that, you know, if they're not going to make those dietary factors, their journey with their skin, with their treatments, it's going to be slower. And sometimes they can react more if they're not doing, you know, those simple little changes in their diets. With a lot of clients, they do tend to listen. And when they do, they understand that, you know, what you were telling them, you know, has really been beneficial in both managing their diabetes conditions and also their skin issues as well. So it's really important that we look at our gut health as well.
And when you're talking about sugar, talking about diabetes, I've jumped to it then. Sugars also plays a massive part, doesn't it, in the skin? And if someone has a really high sugar diet, then it really, really does show on the skin. Does anyone want to just touch on that quickly?
Yes, I can add a little bit more with that. Sugar does have a massive impact on the skin. Firstly, our bodies have a hormone called insulin, which is typically what we use to regulate glucose levels, sugar levels in our blood. And insulin hormone has receptors everywhere across the body, including in the skin. Those receptors actually mimic testosterone receptors. So lots of sugar in your bloodstream means lots of insulin receptors working hard to regulate and produce and receive the hormones to regulate the blood glucose. But testosterone receptors also kick in because they can latch on to the insulin. So you get lots of oil production, lots of sebum production, which results in poor quality skin and breakouts. And also sugar or glucose in itself can actually affect the quality of our collagen in our skin, leading to a process called glycation, where you get lots of sort of crisscross hatch lines, lots of laxity in the skin, so looseness in the skin, because our collagen fibers become very weak. And collagen is what gives us the structure. It's what keeps the skin elastic and firm. So a really high sugar diet, apart from having impacts on almost every organ in the body, it also adversely affects the skin quite directly. So trying to regulate your diet, like Shabana said, and looking at how you can make lifestyle changes that will reduce your glucose intake means that you will see the benefits in your skin, but it has to be consistent.
Thank you. Couldn't find my mute button there. So we've obviously talked a lot about women and female hormones, which I think we get a real rough deal with it, don't we, to be honest? But I think we do need to just mention the guys, and then also as a trans awareness educator, trans men are given testosterone as part of their treatment. And that has quite, it can have quite a profound effect on their skin, and especially acne. So does anyone want to chat a little bit more about kind of testosterone and male hormones? Shall I do it then? All right. Oh gosh, it's so easy hosting. I'm like, yeah, I'll just ask some questions. Yeah, so testosterone. So usually with I've got a lot of trans friends. So when a trans man is someone that was born a woman that is now a man. So in their head, they're a man, so they transition and they're given testosterone. That does various things. It stops their periods. It can make their voice drop. It can alter their face. It can give them facial hair, blah, blah, blah. But what it also does, well, it can make them bald, which isn't great, but it will usually cause, if they're prone to it, it will cause acne. I've got a friend and he didn't ever suffer with acne as a teenager or when he was younger. So he's got away with it quite lightly. But yeah, if they're prone to it, they can really have quite bad acne from, again, as we discussed before, the amount of testosterone that's then stimulating that oil production. So I think it's definitely worth mentioning with that. I don't think chaps, cisgendered men, go through much change though throughout their life, do they, with hormones? They've pretty easy deal. Yeah, they do.
Oh, I think their skin is naturally thicker than ours generally, which it makes it a lot more forgiving. I do think some men do suffer through the shaving process. If they have a more sensitive skin, they can be prone to being sensitized. And I would look at the sort of shaving foams and those applications that they're using. And on a particularly sensitive skin, male sensitive skin, I would probably look at not shaving at all and using an electric razor, so you're not cutting so close to the skin. But no, I mean, certainly within the realms of products and things, I mean, we do tend to treat men in exactly the same way, but men usually want a much simpler routine, I find. But I do find they're a sucker for a facial. Once they've been once, that's it. They're converted and they're loyal forever.
I just wanted to add as well, for just to kind of put in another little side note. So for men of color, where they've got an increased preponderance of melanocytes, giving them the pigment melanin, you can see a lot more of things like folliculitis, which is where you get an inflammation at the follicle, the base of the hair shaft, particularly after shaving. They used to be called razor bumps, I think. So you get what looks like acne, but it's actually an inflammation of the follicle. And that's a combination of the fact that they're shaving very close to the skin, they're irritating the surface of the skin. The hair, facial hair in men is slightly coarser, so the follicles are slightly wider at the base. And you might get, if they don't have an adequate cleansing routine beforehand, you might get a lot of bacteria being transformed deeper into the follicle and causing that irritation. So you've got your skin's natural immune reaction just kind of sending inflammatory markers to the area. So you end up with these pustules, really, or razor bumps. So it's really important that for men, again, they don't sort of do the automatic thing of trying to buy something to strip away the razor bumps. There's a lot of really harsh products out there that people have been sort of advised works well for things like razor bumps and folliculitis, but actually they're stripping the mantle, they're stripping that barrier, and they're making the situation worse. So again, for men, as much as for women, for trans men, whoever is kind of going through that process, it's really important that you speak to your skin specialist and let them work through a program, a combination package of perhaps treatments, as Teresa said, having a facial. This is a great excuse to have a facial. So having a facial, maybe having a skin peel under supervision, and then using products at home that have been prescribed for your particular circumstances by your skin specialist. Because this is actually, it's not something you should be self-diagnosing or self-treating through Dr. Google. It's definitely something you need to speak to a specialist about. But I wanted to point that out because it is something that men of color in particular find quite irritating.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah, the thicker skin's definitely definitely one with the testosterone. So I had, we're going to finish up soon because I know we've kind of gone over a little bit, but I had a question from a lovely lady that I met actually on a skincare forum called Paula. And I think these forums are great, but I think often people give advice of what works for their skin rather than what might work for someone else's skin. So Paula asked, she's got sensitized skin. I think it could possibly be sensitive as well. She's had eczema from being a baby, and her main concern, she wants to use vitamin C, but she's finding they're just too drying. How can I get a glow otherwise? And then also how to step up retinol on eczema prone skin without a flare up. So girls, over to you.
Okay, I don't mind starting. So I think you all know what I'm going to say. No, first and foremost, it's about skin health. I wouldn't be putting any active, including a vitamin C, in my personal opinion, on an eczema-prone skin. So eczema is very much linked to gut health and skin flora. So we talked about the barrier. On top of that barrier as well, we have millions and millions of good bacteria, and we want to keep promoting that good bacteria, not the bad bacteria. Unfortunately, an eczema-prone skin does tend to have a compromised skin barrier. So we need to look at strengthening and repairing that before we put any actives on. So I would be treating it like a sensitized skin. It is naturally sensitive, but I would treat it like a sensitized skin. And I would be looking for ceramides. I would be looking for peptides. I would be looking at omegas and feeding the gut with a pre and probiotic. Just a gentle cleansing, pH balance cleansing. I would keep it simple. I would keep it nourishing. I would keep it gentle. That's my personal opinion.
I think there's a lot to be said, sorry, Tower, that obviously we're talking a lot about products that put on the skin, and linked into what Maria has said and Shabana has said, many of our skin's issues can be reduced, the symptoms, by having the right diet and the right health from within. And a lot of people, you know, especially men, as an example, we spoke about men, they don't like to think about certain ingredients going on their skin because they are ingredients that women put on the skin. But we can help ourselves by having a good, healthy, balanced diet and looking after ourselves internally by looking after your gut health. There are supplements that people can take that can also help improve the balance of our skin cells from within, not just necessarily what we put on our skin. There's all kinds of ways we can help ourselves. But what is important is your body and your skin will change over the years. And it's important that we do, or that clients do review with a skin specialist what the changes that happen to their skin and what they can do to help, whether it be internally or externally by what products they use on their skin. It's really important that they do speak to a skin specialist. It's not necessarily a dermatologist, because we are absolute experts in our field now by as hopefully you've identified, as skin specialists. We work in salons, we work in clinics that specialise in skin, and we have identified a lot that can be helped with people's skin without resorting to going to see the doctor or the dermatologist. So do speak to, you know, a skin specialist within our area of expertise. Don't think when we say skin specialist we mean a dermatologist, because unfortunately they tend to go straight to the medical route when there's actually lots of other things that can be done before then that can help you with your skin. And that's what we as skin experts are all about. Hope that helps.
Thanks so much, girls. Yeah, I've recommended, when I spoke to her before, I recommended she takes probiotics as a definite first thing. So with any sensitive skin, that's just vital, isn't it, really? And prebiotics are things in our diet, aren't they, that we eat? I know bananas is one. I always forget the others. I have to Google it. Anyone else can think of any prebiotics? Throw them in. Yeah, and I think as well, there's a lot of single-use ingredient products as well, aren't there? And someone hears an ingredient like niacinamide and think, oh, go and buy that, that'll be great. But I think what we need to remember is the delivery systems they're in are so important. And I think Tower said, actually, we've obviously got some WhatsApp groups going on and stuff, and Tower said earlier that's not going to even hit a skin cell. It's not going to reach a skin cell, that product. It was about something else we were discussing, but I think that really summarized it quite well. I loved it.
Just to add there, Sam, you mentioned about the delivery systems. Sort of a good qualified skin specialist has got an armory of range of products, and in the Skin Collaborative we all use different ranges, and but skin specialists are qualified to recommend and advise on ingredients that use delivery systems. That is a way of transporting the key ingredients to the right layers of skin cells. Now, products that you will buy over the counter, they may have some of these fancy active ingredients in them, but unless they've got the right way of delivering those ingredients into your skin, putting them on top of your skin isn't going to achieve anything. But good, sort of good qualified skin specialists within clinics and salons have got an armory of products that they can recommend to you that have these right ways of getting the ingredients to where they need to within your skin.
Can I add to that the why behind that? So the delivery system will take something down into the skin, and the reason it won't go into the skin without the delivery system is about the molecular size. So as we've mentioned before, our skin barrier is meant to be watertight. Things can't get through for a reason. So if you've got a big molecule, it just can't get through. So it has to be a small molecule, a small molecular size, and it has to have a way of transporting through. So we are looking at those delivery systems. So for a liposome is a delivery system, for example, and what that does, it encapsulates that small molecule, that smaller molecule, and pulls it down into the skin. And without those delivery systems, things will just bounce on the surface of the skin. There's no point paying a lot of money for a cream that doesn't have a delivery system. It will not get where it needs to go. So it can have collagen, it can have, active ingredients, but unless it's got those delivery systems, don't bother. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to sit on the surface of the skin. And that's the difference between a professional product, a cosmeceutical product, and something you buy over the counter.
I think one of my favourite analogies, sorry, Shabana, one of my favourite analogies is there's a reason why you can swim and you don't absorb all the water into your skin, because the molecule is massive. It won't go in. Sorry, Shabana.
Yeah, I was just going to mention there, Maria, to what Maria said, just following on from there, that what a lot of people don't realise is with cosmetic products, like Maria mentioned about the corneocytes, and even though we typically think that, the top layer is dead skin, if the nucleus is still alive, there's no cell-to-cell communication going on either. So when the skin becomes lazy, it just thinks it doesn't have any function to do, and by applying products that are cosmetics, they're not giving any instructions to your skin, and your skin is just going to have a really poor function. It's just not really going to do anything for you. It's not going to save you. So personally, I kind of try to advise my clients, if you're going to use a cosmetic product, just know that it will have a feel-good factor. It's not actually going to do anything. And with cosmeceutical products, I don't know, we all use different kinds. They're not going to feel good, or you're not going to get like an instant, oh, it feels really hydrating, but you'll start to see small changes. And it's going to take a bit of time, because we've got to think about that exfoliation, that migration process of the corneocyte, when it goes through that cycle. I think the feel good factor, we should just probably leave to our monthly facials. So clients should be booking in for that monthly facial and get their feel good factor there. But with cosmetics, they are really just there just to give you a bit of a pamper and fluff on the surface.
Absolutely. Right. I think we've said all we can say. We've ranted, we've educated, and we've talked about the barrier within an inch of its life. We haven't mentioned SPF much today, actually, which is unlike us.
Shall we?
No. Let's let everyone go. Let's go and enjoy the little bit of sunshine or snow, whatever we've got going on. It's kind of both at the moment, isn't it? So I would like to wrap this up. Thank you so much, girls, for giving up your son our last day before we get back in clinic. How excited are we about tomorrow? Going to be like training myself ready to, it's like going into battle. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to The Skin Collaborative. We are a group of very passionate skin professionals with varied specialisms who've come together to educate and inspire you, the public, around all things skin. Next week's topic is the environment and our skin. Not sure when the talk is, but we'll drop it here. We might do it next Sunday, actually, quite possibly. But it will be arriving for you and we'll pop it in the events. So if you like what you've heard, please feel free to share it to any of your pages or your Facebook. And any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat and we'll monitor it afterwards for you. So from me and the Skin Club girls, we will say goodbye. Bye.